Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? Okay, so today I want to talk about the ongoing story between KAYLA MALEC and James Charles. There has been some new developments that have come out. Kayla got on her podcast and she talked about James Charles. They talked about the apology video that James Charles came out with. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I saw a clip. Dustin Daly also did a very extensive video going through the whole podcast. I just want to give some thoughts about that. But I also want to talk about the unfollowing of James Charles. People unfollowing him, specifically KAYLA MALEC. I had kind of wondered if she was going to unfollow him or not, and it looks like she did. So I want to talk about that in a second. I'm not sure if she unfollowed him or if she blocked him. So I want to talk about that in a second because I think that that's kind of an important part of this whole story. And although that may sound silly to a lot of people, oh, like somebody unfollowed somebody or somebody blocked somebody, I think it's a very decisive move about this whole story that she no longer aligns herself with James Charles or anything that he has to say, that she doesn't accept his apology, things like that. I think it's very important to this whole story. You know, for years now, drama commentary channels have talked about, well, this person unfollowed that person, this person followed on that person, and that would be over situations that had to do, you know, with things that were very minor to like palette releases all the way to things that were very serious. But in this situation, for a while, I've been kind of like looking every single day to see what James Charles' numbers are and if they've gone down, and also to see if she is continuing to follow him. When the whole situation happened and after her court date, I knew that that was not her main concern, was unfollowing James Charles. So I kind of like watched to see when it would happen. So I want to talk about that in a second. But first of all, I just want to say, because you know what, I don't know that I've said this over here about kind of like how I maneuver my channels. And so I wanted to make this clear for people that just watch this channel. So for those of you that don't know, or this is your first time watching me, hi, I'm Peter Monn. I actually have 7 YouTube channels. I have 7 channels that sometimes I post on every single one of those channels. And some days I post on 3 or 4 channels. But almost every single day, I post on my vlog channel. My vlog, Peter Vlogs, it's listed below. You can go check it out. I sit on my front porch and I just kind of talk about what's going on with my life and the last 24 hours of my life and bring up memories from my past and things that are going on. And but that's kind of how I end my day every day. It's very cathartic for me and it's my heartstone. And I love all of my channels for different reasons, but my vlog is really my heartstone. I love my vlog so much. And if I'm not going to vlog, because out of all the channels, if I'm gonna do anything, if I'm gonna take a day off, my vlog is one thing that I'm going to continue to do every single day, unless I absolutely can't. You know, recently I was in the hospital. I was in the emergency room, passing a kidney stone or trying to pass a kidney stone. So I think that night I didn't vlog, and I'll put up my community tab on my vlog channel if I'm not going to vlog for that day, because I just don't want people to worry about me. I used to do that on all of my channels, and I actually think that I put something up over on this community tab as well, saying that I wasn't going to be posting for a day or a couple days until I kind of gotten through some things. Just because I don't like people to worry, because people know that I consistently post on a pretty regular basis on at least some of my channels. But, you know, yesterday I got a comment. It was a very nice comment, but somebody said something to the effect of, like, you must not be posting on this channel today, so I'm going to go look at another video, which is, it's so sweet that people even seek out my videos, you know, like look for me every day to see if I posted. I think that that's just, I mean, it's nothing that I ever would have thought when I started this channel. And so, but then I got a couple direct messages from people that obviously don't, you know, like watch my vlog and stuff. And they were like, hey, like, I noticed you didn't post any of your channels today. Are you okay? And so I kind of wanted to explain so that people don't worry about me further, because I don't know that I'm going to continue to put statements up on all of my channels and things like this. I know this has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, but I was like, this is kind of, I think, the appropriate time to explain. So, my vlog is where I do announce it. So if you ever are like, I wonder where Peter is, he hasn't posted in a day or two, just go over to my vlog channel. You don't even have to look at the vlog, but if I've posted, then I'm good. Or you can look at my community post, and if I'm not going to post or something's happened, that's going to be where I'm going to post saying I'm taking the day off. And it's not always because something is going on. It might just be because we're at a family event, we're getting home too late and things like that. And so yesterday, and I talked all about this on my vlog yesterday, but it's one of the reasons why I didn't post on any of my other channels. Yesterday was just a really, really rough day. And like I said, I talked extensively about it on my vlog. You know, one of the things that's so crazy to me is, you know, it's interesting in kind of like looking at this whole situation of Kayla Malec, this person that I didn't even know a month ago, you know, online, and hearing her share her story and how her story has so impacted so many people. You know, when I see on her posts, when I read the comments and people are like, you're telling my story, or I've been through this, or I feel seen, or I feel heard, like that's super powerful, right? To turn your wounds into wisdom. And especially like right out of, I mean, she's coming right out of court and sharing this stuff. And I just think that that's amazing. I think she is she seems to be such a strong young lady, and I'm just, she's a hero. She's a hero to a lot of people, you know? And I don't ever want any of the conversation about James Charles or any of this kind of stuff to take away the light that she deserves in this moment. But, you know, I think one of the things that is probably like a misconception is, like, I get accused a lot of like oversharing online. I was talking to a friend of mine last night that's in a completely different community than me on YouTube, and we were talking about like what we share, and I said, you know, it's interesting because there's a lot that I don't share online. You know, there's friends of mine that have huge, you know, medical issues that they're going through, or family members of mine that are going through things, and I don't share a lot of that because that's not my story to tell, but it might impact me, you know? And so, but it's the sharing of personal things that I think really builds, I don't know, the word community kind of sounds phony, but in all honesty, that's how it feels, you know? And yesterday on my vlog, I shared and I bawled my eyes out, and I just shared where I was at yesterday. And the reaction that I got and the support that I got, not just in the comment sections, but emails that I received from people, direct messages that I received from people, was just overwhelming. And I just want to say thank you. You know, I just passed my 9-year anniversary of starting my BookTube channel. And I can remember when I started on that table right down there in the living room, I never imagined that I would have more than one channel, let alone 7 channels, thinking about possibly starting an 8th channel, a nature channel, which that is bizarre enough to me as somebody that never used to love nature, you know? But it brings me a lot of peace and calm. And so then to also like have people that I know who they are and I know about their lives, even though we've never met, and they've shared so many things with me personally and are so just empathetic and sympathetic to things that I'm going through, and are so kind, even when they're going through difficult times too, you know? It's really magic. It really is all magic, honestly. And I'm so grateful for it. And, it's just the coolest thing, you know, and I'll see people share, like, especially on the comments on my vlogs, somebody will say something they're going through, and then there'll be like 5 to 10 comments of people supporting them. And that has nothing to do with me, you know, that has to do with you guys watching the videos and how you respond to each other. And I really think that it's a sign of class, and I think it's really, really cool. But yeah, yesterday I didn't film on any of my channels except for my vlog. It was a really rough day. I found out, and if you want to hear more about it, you can go over to my vlog channel, but I found out that, somebody that had been very dear to me in my life had passed away, and it was, I don't know, it's just a shock, and I was hearing from a lot of people, and I think, you know, in that moment, well, and then after that, I found out that Marv, the little dog on Instagram, I followed him since his mom's adopted him, Marvis Big Teeths, had passed away, and it brought up a lot of issues with, you know, our dog's passing and things like that. But when I talked about it on my vlog last night, to see how many people had, like, people would share, like, oh, when this, you know, animal on TikTok or this animal on Instagram or Facebook that I followed passed away, like, it just crushed me. And to think that these little animals out there, you know, we get so consumed, I think, with so much negativity online and so much of the negative drama online and things like that. And, you know, people referred to it the other day. I thought it was so great. I was like, oh, well, I know that word, but I never would have thought about it. Morbid curiosity, and talking about Eugenia Cooney. But then to see so many people talk about their love for these little rescue animals, or, you know, following these animals online, and that they're devastated, you know, when they get sick or they pass. And I really was, you know, I really was devastated yesterday. And you know what, and I didn't even know that, and they probably sent out 100 messages or something, but I posted something about it on my Instagram story, and his mom's sent me this message and said, thank you for always loving our boy. And I think it's you know, contingent on how we look at the world, and it's one of the reasons why several years ago, I just scraped my Instagram, and I just was like, I'm not following all these problematic Instagrammers or influencers anymore. I'm not following, you know, these guys with great beards and, you know, amazing bodies that make me feel worse about myself. I'm going to follow things that make me happy. And, but sometimes there's sadness that comes with that too. But I think like in that moment, and yesterday, I just want to say this, you know, yesterday in that moment, because I think this is consistent with what Kayla's been going through recently, you know, that in that moment, and I'm not comparing my story to her whatsoever, but I've been through some pretty traumatic experiences since my start on being on YouTube. I think when you're in the middle of that, or you're in the middle of loss, or you're in the middle of major change or trauma, that it kind of siphons out like the noise, right? And so all these things that people want to say that they think, well, why are you like, this is important, or that's important, or this is important, kind of goes to the wayside. And if you've ever dealt with that before, if you've ever dealt with like a loss, or which I'm sure almost everybody has, or some kind of traumatic experience or something, in that moment, your perspective immediately changes. Your perspective is like, this does not matter. Like, you know, and one of my goals for 2025 is really asking myself, where am I directing my energy? What am I giving time and space to? And how am I giving time and space to it? So before I go into any of these videos and I talk about these videos, it's really important for me, and I think maybe this is a change that I've started doing in the last couple months. It's really important for me to kind of go into it and think about like how I want to talk about this issue, you know, or these issues. And with Eugenia Cooney, like I talked about her the other day, I got really, really nice comments from people on there about how I looked at that whole situation. And, you know, these are all people that are living their lives out online. And that's a difficult thing to do. It's no excuse for problematic behavior. But at the same time, I think it's important to look at the full scope of things. So anyway, I just want to explain that's why I didn't film yesterday. I may take a couple days off, in all honesty, just to, you know, the other thing is this, is, you know, I think it's no surprise to anybody that I'm an older YouTuber. You know, I'll be 53 next month. And most of the people that are making videos that, you know, are in my community are late 20s to late 30s, you know, and I'm not. And so, you know, I think today, I love doing this. I love each of my channels for something different. You know, last night I watched Poly Family and I took my notes. I'm going to do my reaction to that. But I love each of my channels for something different. But I also think that it's kind of like, it's important for me to also take time for myself. And I've learned recently, you know, like the saying where if you don't rest, your body will force you to. And I have not been good at that in my entire 9 years online, you know. And, you know, I've talked about this before. I used to, you know, whip out, like my husband and I would be watching a movie and something would pop off and I'd be like, can I film this video real quick? And he was always supportive and he'd be like, yeah, babe, whatever. And so I would, and I don't do that anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. And honestly, Hannah Smoky Glow was kind of the one that changed my perspective on that. She did some video, I think like a year or two ago, coming back. And when she did it, she was talking about how she was at like a family reunion or gathering. And she was like in a corner because like Tottie's video came out, watching the video. And I was like, oh my God, that was me. Like I used to do that, you know, like, and I'd be like, oh, I have to leave. I have to make this video. There's not a video that can't wait a day or two when you're going through something, you know? And I can remember years and years and years ago, one of my friend's fathers passed away from a massive heart attack, like just instantly. And I talked to his mom, and I was probably 23 or 24 at the time, and I was just talking to her about it, and she said, you know, the one thing that nobody wishes on their deathbed is that they worked more. And as much as I love doing this, it is, at the end of the day, it is a job, you know? And so there's not any story that can't wait a day or two. And I think before I was, you know, kind of consumed with always having to get the story out first and things like that. And I think that sometimes I also kind of want to sit on things and think about how I want to respond to them. So if there are things you guys want me to talk about, please put them in the comment section. I am not afraid to talk about a topic, even if it's a week old. I've seen a lot of people that come out and they'll talk about something that's happened. And back in the day, I did not think this, I thought, like, you could get it right on it. But now people come out and talk about things like a week or two later. And it's like they have a different take because they've seen it all evolve. And so I think with very serious situations like this, sometimes I think it's important to get the information out right away. And I think other times it is important to, you know, talk about this. So, and kind of wait and talk about it. So today I do want to talk about this Kayla Malec thing. like I said, Dustin Daly went through the entire podcast and reacted to it. If you want to see the whole podcast or his reaction to it, he did a great video on that. Go check out Dustin's video. I am just going to talk about this one clip because I really want to more talk about the unfollowing of James Charles because that's a little bit more interesting to me. But first of all, I just want to show this clip that she, hold on a second. Where is it at? Okay, I want to just show this clip of this situation. Okay, hold on a second. Here it is, where she is talking. This is on the podcast. Okay, so we're gonna watch this really quickly.
Really hope and pray that when this goes to court this week, Kayla gets justice for what that man put her through. At the same time,
pause.
The videos that I'm.
If we listen to that closely, I hope when Kayla goes to court this week, she gets the justice she deserves. This video was pre-recorded and then consciously decided to post an hour after I win my court case. That's insane. This wouldn't have been a fucking drama if you had the morals to not take it as far as you did. If you morally were correct in this situation, the second I told you we broke up and there was abuse and this and that, you would have not that same day gone and DM'd Evan and sent screenshots of our messages and built a friendship with him and then fly him out. This wouldn't be a drama if you did not do the things that you did.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to say on kind of like, come on, light, let there be light. First of all, one of the things I want to say, and she's done this multiple times in like her response video and now in podcasts and other things that I kind of love is when, and this is just kind of like a silly moment, but this is something about her that I so adore, is that, you know, when you refer to something but you change it up, and she refers to it as a drama, this wouldn't be a drama. And this, she's done this multiple times. Like when she did her reaction video, I noticed it too. She's like, James, this wouldn't be a drama. And I don't know why that cracks me up, but it's so endearing to me as somebody that, because we've always just talked about this wouldn't be drama, or, you know, like Jeffree Star used to say, I am not going to be the drama of 2020, you know, 5 or whatever he wishes. But, I love that she refers to it as a drama, like a singular event. You know, I don't know why that cracks me up so much, but I just love how she talks about it. And, you know, I do want to say this. I received not 1, not 2, not 3, but multiple DMs from people, women, all women, that had been victims and survivors of DV. And one of the things that they said is that they were sharing their stories of how they related to her. And almost all of them said, please be careful on people being hard on her in the future, because the way that people react after having gone through DV or post-traumatic stress disorder and things like that is that sometimes their reaction to that is like she may become the drama, or she may put out some behavior that people are questioning, and then they're looking at her with a microscope, but that's very typical of victims of DV. And I think that was a comment that I got, or a DM that I got from several people that I thought was really, really interesting, because that's not my lived experience. So for somebody to share that lived experience, I mean, one person shared with me that, you know, like after this happened, they started like going out and partying a lot and whatever. And people were like saying to them, like, why are you doing this? Like, and so then all of a sudden people were like picking apart the victim and picking apart their behaviors when that maybe could have been a possible reaction to what they had gone through. And I think this is really important. I think because everybody right now, I mean, she's 20 years old, and I think people are looking at her right now as like the voice of DV, right? Like as the voice, and she's not that. She never asked to be that. And I think so it's really, really important that we allow this young lady some grace to grow and to move through this pain. I mean, she's just on the tail end of like just getting through the court date. This is where the healing process starts. That healing process could be something that could take years and years and years and years and years for her to go through, you know? And I hope that we are compassionate towards whatever that journey looks like for her. I really do, you know? So anyway, I thought it was interesting what she said. I mean, it's not a whole lot different than what I think a lot of us have said that have been covering the story, that James Charles, you know, like had this pre-recorded. It was obvious to me that he had it pre-recorded because I knew that first of all, I know this is how James Charles moves. Having covered James Charles for almost 9 years. I mean, this is how James Charles moves. He is very premeditated. He is very planned out in what he does. Jen Loves Reviews did these Instagram reels where she talked about, you have to understand how James Charles speaks. And so even though he speaks very, very fast and he picks and chooses his words. So what he's saying is it's partly deflection tactic. It's partly he's speaking so fast that you think he's like, you don't really know when you're watching him, right? Like, is he being honest? Is he not being honest? I don't really know. And he's picking it apart. And so you have to kind of look, you have to slow it down and look. And Jen did a fantastic job of looking at this, looking at each piece of what he says, right? And so she talked about how at the beginning of it, he addresses something and she said, anything after this you don't need to pay any attention to because he lies in the first sentence. And so it was really interesting to me when I looked at that because I was like, oh, this is so consistent with like every apology, that video that James Charles has come out with, you know? And so, and you know, now there's like all these allegations coming out about James Charles again, sadly for the victims of James Charles. And, you know, it's interesting. People were saying that he hadn't posted a TikTok or anything since his reaction to Kayla. And I do believe that today is James Charles' birthday. I think I looked and he posted, is it today? He posted a TikTok blowing out his birthday cake, which I just want to say this. This is where James Charles, like for me, I understand wanting to, and listen, I'm not going to take anything away from anybody's birthday, you know, happy birthday to James Charles. I hope that you don't do it at your birthday party, but anyway, your birthday dinner. You know, I'm not going to take away anybody's birthday, even though every year on my birthday, I've had to cover some major issue that's gone on online, even when I'm trying to sit on the beach in Mexico. But he, you know, he posted this. Here, let me find it for you guys. He posted this, I think it's from today, actually. I think today is his birthday. Let me look. It's from 2 hours ago, and it's him blowing out a birthday cake, okay? Well, what's interesting to me about that is that James Charles knows that within the drama commentary community, there has been a lot of talk about the fact that several years ago, when he felt like he was untouchable, one of his friends gave him a birthday cake, and on the birthday cake, it said, and you have to understand, this is how James Charles thinks, okay? And this is how his friends think. That his friend thought it was a good idea to give him a birthday cake that said, and you did it at my birthday dinner, okay? Other influencers like Daniel Prada made it into a joke and like even posted it on their Instagram. Daniel Prada, for his birthday that year, posted it on his Instagram. I mean, so his friends think it's a joke, too. They think that allegations of predatory behavior are a joke. So James Charles shows this cake, okay? The cake itself, the birthday cake, the candles, he did a whole Instagram thing of the candles blowing out the candle, became this huge deal. And this is where I think people forget a little bit. Became this huge deal, okay? So to me, when I'm watching this, and I'm watching this TikTok to me, even though it's just a birthday, you know, and he says on here, it's my effing birthday, it's my effing birthday, it's my effing, and blows out the cake. To me, in all honesty, this is kind of an FU to all of the haters that have come for him. It's kind of a, you know, when you watch, like, American Horror Story and they pay homage to, like, a previous season, which they do. I mean, it's an artistic thing that in all areas of art, people pay homage to, you know, past stories or past artistic issue or artistic artists or artistic, you know, endeavors and things like that. To me, this is him playing to what happened in the past, him blowing out the birthday cake, okay? And for me, I mean, for him to just post up a picture and be like, it's my birthday today, but to also have, that would be one thing, but to have the cake in it, to me, and specifically blowing out the cake, I don't know, it just, to me, you know, I didn't even look at the cake. I was like, should I look at the cake and see if it says anything? I mean, it says he's 26, so... I mean, here's the other thing, too, is that for years, people have been giving James Charles a pass and saying, well, he's not 25, and, you know, before you're 25, your brain is not fully developed. So he's 26, so his brain has fully developed, so that's not an excuse anymore. But, you know, in her thing that she said, where James Charles had, okay, this is where I think that, it's interesting to me that he really hasn't lost any followers off of TikTok, which is why he doesn't give an F, right? He doesn't care. He's going to still be invited to red carpet events. Nobody's really unfollowing him. It was interesting on this TikTok, like, I looked at some of the comments underneath here, and, like, the first comment that has 3,065 likes on it says, does that mean I can have him? Does that mean I can have him? Does that mean I can have him? And James Charles put, log off and get a job, log off and get a job, log off and get a job, log off and get a job. And somebody said, pop off. I mean, people are... going off on James. Somebody said you first to James Charles. I mean, people are going on and on and on. Somebody said, I'm in enemy territory. These are the top comments on his birthday thing. Somebody said, I'm in enemy territory, and then James Charles responded to it and said, then leave, babe. And there's 69 replies on it underneath there. And somebody said, they could never make me like you. And this is the third top comment on the TikTok. And James Charles said, oh no, whatever will I do? First of all, I don't know that I think it's great for you, and when you're in this position, to be coming for your audience that's hanging around, okay? Even if they're, you know, criticizing you, I think that they're still watching you. So I don't know that it's great engagement. I don't know that this is going to be, this might be a thing where James Charles, like 2 weeks down the road, people are just kind of like, I'm done, like I'm out. And I've said this for a while. I don't know why I'm really not surprised. I mean, I don't know that I think that James Charles, well, I don't really believe in cancel culture. That's a video that I'm kind of putting together about the idea of cancel culture. I don't know that I really believe in it. But do I believe that James Charles will ever really truly be canceled, like where he isn't? No, I think there will always be people, a new audience that he builds that really doesn't understand the implications of DV or doesn't understand the implications of predatory behavior. And, you know, and like other people have said, like Antonio Garza said it on her podcast, and they shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to understand those things because they're so young, right? And so what James has done is he has introduced a very young fan base into these very serious adult topics, which they should not have to be privy to when they're just rolling through TikTok, trying to enjoy their day or looking at funny TikToks and things like that. I would hope that we live in a world where 12 to 17-year-olds, there are still some out there, okay? I mean, maybe not 17-year-olds, but 12 to 15-year-olds, that there are still some out there that don't really understand the implications of DV or sexual predatory behavior or sexual misconduct. I would hope that that still exists, and that, you know, that we're trying to keep the kids innocent today, you know, and let them grow up at their own pace. So James is banking on that audience that will really never understand the implications of that until they get older or until they've experienced it themselves. And so he keeps on building a younger and younger audience each time, right? And so I don't really know how long he can do that. I mean, I don't know if he's 35, if he's going to be able to continue to hold an audience that's 12 to 14 years old. I mean, I guess, I don't know what his plan is. But James is very calculated. And we've seen this with apology videos in the past. And, I mean, even like, when he came out, I mean, you have to remember how this all went down. So when the Toddy Westbrook thing came down, he like sat on the bathroom floor and put out this like apology video, okay? And when he was in Australia at the time. Then that video came down, and then he put up his video, No More Lies, okay? Because her video is called Bye Sister. And he came out with his video called No More Lies. What you have to remember at that time was, no, Toddy Westbrook, as a grown adult, decided to get in that video, and she decided to make that video, okay? There's been so much speculation, we're going to get into all that today, about the fact that Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson were in her ear, okay? That could be, we don't know. But she came out. At that time, Toddy Westbrook was pretty respectable. I mean, people really listened to what she had to say. You know, she was also a lot older than James, so it was, and she had stood by him, and he had done her makeup at her wedding and things like that. So for Toddy Westbrook to come out and speak about James Charles was a pretty big issue. James Charles sat on it for a while, and then he came back with receipts and called it No More Lies, okay? And that was his attack. So James Charles has learned to do that. He has learned to do that time and time and time again, okay? And when it doesn't go his way, he just deletes it, and then people forget that it's there, like the Holding Myself Accountable video, where people say, why do you call him a self-proclaimed predator? Because James Charles, in the video, Holding Myself Accountable, which has been re-uploaded on YouTube, you can go find it, put in James Charles, Holding Myself Accountable, he says in the video, to my victims, okay? So he self-proclaims, you know, if you come and you say, I'm an astronaut, you're self-proclaiming that you're an astronaut, okay? If you're saying in a video, if you say, I'm a chef and I work in a restaurant, you're self-proclaiming as a chef, okay? If you are in a video and you are apologizing to your victims that are minors, he calls them victims, that you are self-proclaiming as a predator. I don't really understand, when anybody has an issue with that, I mean, when those are very, very, like, academic terms to use, that is, like, such a sign of super fandom. Not to mention, I think it's rather weird that in 2025, you would defend James Charles against predatory allegations or against standing behind the abuser of DV. I mean, I just think it's weird. When I read the comments that people are like, no matter what you do, I'll always stand behind you. You don't care what another human being does to another human being. Like, that's what you have to say about the world. In the world that we live in, you know, you don't care what another human being does to another human being or how they're hurt or how they feel. You don't care about that, right? Like, okay, so anyway, so, you know, does it surprise me that James Charles came out with this video and had it pre-planned to post exactly at the right time? No, not at all. This is going to stop. Hold on a second. I honestly thought that when I got into this video, it was going to be really, really short, like 20 minutes. And I know that I did like a 15-minute like kind of intro talking about my channels, but I felt like I needed to do that today. I know people get all bent out of shape. They're like, if you want to get right to the drama, baby, go flash forward to the drama. I don't care, okay? Or a drama, as Kayla refers to it. I don't care, you know? And, but anyway, that doesn't surprise me at all. That's how James moves, right? But what she's saying in this moment is, look at how insensitive he is. Look at how selfish James Charles is. That it's not about me getting this conviction. That it's not about me letting me have my moment. That it never was. So in the moment when James Charles is saying, okay, I hope that when she has her day in court, that it goes well for her. What he's really saying in that moment is, but I'm making this video about me to redeem myself, so I don't really give a fuck what happens to her in court, because this video is already filmed for as soon as the court conviction happens or court is over, and I'm posting it an hour later, okay? Because she said in her reaction, she said you couldn't have waited an hour and a half, 3 hours till the next day? You couldn't have waited? So what she's saying in this moment, which is important, okay, is that when James Charles is in his reaction video and he is saying, I hope that thing, like, she has her day in court and it goes well for her, he doesn't really care. That's insincere. It's disingenuous, because in that moment, he's focused on himself pre-filming a video that he can post the moment court is over. He doesn't give a shit about how court goes. He only cares for that moment that court is over so that he can upload the video an hour later. That's all he cares about. Not to mention, when he's making the video, he doesn't even know what's going to happen in court, what's going to come out in court. We don't know that there aren't 3 videos that are posted, and or 3 videos that are filmed, or 5 videos, and this is the one that he chose to post. We don't know that. I mean, he could have 5 videos filmed, depending on how court went, and this was the video that he decided to post. You know, acting very sincere and upset, and let me tell the truth about what's going on, blah, 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 because he had to get ahead of the story, okay? Well, what's problematic about that is that when you have taken the side, okay, of a abuser in any situation of violence, okay, in any situation, when you've taken the side of that, and I've said in my past 2 previous videos that the fact that James Charles possibly allegedly warned Evan that she was going to make a 30-part series is, I mean, I have friends of mine that have worked in women's shelters, have worked in DV shelters. I have friends of mine that have been in that situation. I have friends of mine that are victims and survivors of abuse. I mean, that is such a critical time when you are trying to get safe environments, safe people around you, safe places. James Charles took that away from her. We have no idea. I mean, what if Evan was like, I'm going to get ahead of this because James Charles thinks that way. James Charles thinks, I'm going to get ahead of this story, so I'm going to have my video filmed to put it out as soon as court comes out to save my name, okay? So it's not a far cry to think that if he was giving him advice, that he may have said, you need to get ahead of this story before she puts out the 30-part series. Well, who knows how detrimental that could have been. Not only in it, and I've talked about this, that not only could it have been put Kayla in serious danger, okay? I mean, if you've read the articles and you read the statistics and you've been educated on this, what we know about DV and abuse is that the most critical time typically, okay, for victims of that is when they make a decision that they are going to leave, or when they make a decision that they are going to set a boundary, or when they make a decision that they're going to set a safe environment. That is many times when victims of DV are murdered. So James Charles was putting her, possibly, if he did this, in a very, very scary situation, okay? Not to mention that if Evan had put out a video, if James had said she's going to put this 30-part series out, and Evan's like, I got to get ahead of it, and he put out a video, that video could have impacted, it could have been used in court, it could have impacted what happened in court, okay? How things went may not have been how things happened. So James Charles, you know, when she talks about if you were moral and you wouldn't have reached out to my ex when I told you he was abusive, it's not just about James Charles inserting himself in the middle of a drama, okay, because he wanted to fuck this guy or have him be his boyfriend or whatever insanity James Charles wants to deflect it on. What it is James Charles is really inserting himself in the middle of a very scary and dangerous situation. You know, if Evan knew that, and Evan said, well, I'm going to put out my own TikTok, you know, F her, I'm going to put out my own TikTok, and James Charles has got me standing by his side, so I'm going to do this whole thing. Who knows how it could have turned out? And that could have been used in court, and it could have been used against her. And so James was, in 2 very serious ways, possibly, if that were true, if that exists, that James Charles warned him about the series, you know, then, and the thing is that people are like, well, Evan's in jail, he can't talk, he can't defend himself. Evan will not be in jail forever, okay? I mean, there will be a time that Evan comes out of jail, and he will speak about this at some point. And who knows what he'll have to say. And so, James was putting Kayla in a very, this is why, to me, it's baffling that he even has one follower. I mean, in all honesty, okay? I mean, it's been baffling to me for years that people are just like, oh, it's just predatory allegations. Oh, they're just minors. And then people say, oh, well, the minors said that they lied. A minor is never at fault, okay, first of all, in a situation like this. The fact that we even live in a world where people would think that is so disgusting. A victim of DV is never at fault, okay? The fact that we live in a world where people want to blame the victim or victim shame is so disgusting. I mean, we're seeing it right now with the P. Diddy case, you know? And so all this stuff is, you know, people have all this stuff to say. The fact that James Charles even has one follower blows me away. It really does, okay? I don't know, like, if people have brain cells and can't think through these things themselves, and I know that's probably offensive to people, but the fact that you would publicly support somebody that has multiple allegations of sexual misconduct that have been proven, that he has admitted to himself, on top of that, now he has even admitted and said, well, I didn't know and I was manipulated too, but we're finding out that that's not true, that he stood behind he stood, you know, by the abuser. I mean, how much worse does it have to get for people to open their eyes and say, this isn't just fun and games and a painted palette? Like, who gives a fuck about a makeup artist? Like, in seriousness, this is a human being that is hurting other human beings. Like, what? I'm blown away by it. So anyway, I've been looking over the last couple days to see James Charles following. You know, James Charles, I have said for years, I believe a lot of it is smoke and mirrors. So I don't know that he is not buying followers or he's not buying this. People are speculating that, you know, maybe like TikTok is protecting him and things like that because he gets so many views at TikTok. I don't know about all that. What I will say is when you go to James Charles, I mean, he's now getting a lot of really negative comments. So I don't know if people are just hanging on for the negativity of it all. But when you look at his thing, I mean, he's still at 40.7 million. So he was originally at 41 when this all came out. He went down to 40.4. He went back up to 40.8. And then when Kayla's reaction video came out, he went back down to 40.7 million. He's still holding steady at that. So it's not like, you know, what's interesting to me about this when I look at it is, hold on a second, his third, okay, and this, me proudly watching all the beautiful girlies following my prom makeup tutorial. That video got 58.4 million views. His reaction, or his apology to Kayla Malec got 69.6 million views. I mean, I think that's very telling. What that's saying is people don't really care. I mean, it's getting pretty even. The people that are watching for his, you know, his prom stuff are watching for this as well. It's surprising to me he hasn't lost more than that. Do I think that there's a possibility that James could be smoke and mirroring the whole situation and buying? It could. I don't know, but it could. Because he doesn't want it to look like he's losing, you know, from this. What I will tell you is that for days and days, I looked to see if Kayla had unfollowed James Charles. Originally, people were saying that she had unfollowed Zach Sellers, who was the person that came out with the allegations about James Charles originally, and that on the Be Better podcast, and that she had unfollowed him, but she hadn't unfollowed James. Well, when I went and looked, Zach Sellers, who has, I mean, you know, talk about, that's a whole mess itself. I mean, he's got all these allegations coming out as well. I don't know about all that. I can do a video if you guys want me to look into it. Some of this stuff is just a little so dark for me. And to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't be covering this as closely as I am if I didn't really feel so much for Kayla and believe that she really deserves justice, not in a court of law, but also in the public eye, the public arena, that I believe that she deserves justice and support from people. And I want people to realize what a huge part that James Charles really played in this. This was not just James Charles trying to fuck her boyfriend, okay? This was about James Charles inserting himself into the middle of an abusive situation, and also, in some ways, allegedly aiding that situation by giving him information that was privileged information to him that, I mean, let's just put this in perspective, okay? We have seen situations like this happen before in the past, online, locally, whatever, okay? Where if somebody said, like she said, I'm coming out with this series, I'm going to talk about it. If it was on a local situation and that person said, I'm going to go to the police and I'm going to report this, okay? And the person they told their abuser, and their abuser said, she's not going to court, she's not going to the police, like, I'm going to stop that. It's very similar to that on a very similar situation, okay? I don't know that people understand that when they watch it, that that's how serious the situation is. So anyway, I had looked. She hadn't actually unfollowed Zach Sellers or James Charles at that time. Zach Sellers' account got banned on TikTok. I haven't looked. I don't care to know if he's back or not. But anyway, that's why it looked like she had unfollowed him, because his account was banned. So it no longer existed. But she continued to follow James Charles, I believe, until like yesterday or the day before. And so I looked today, and she is no longer following James Charles. You cannot find him on her follow list. And I can't find out if he follows her or not, because when you go to look at who he's following, it says following list is hidden due to this account's privacy settings. So he doesn't want us to see who he's following. So I don't know if he's following her or not. But I will say this. On Instagram, you can see who he follows and who she follows, and they're not following each other. I'm almost kind of wondering if she didn't block him. Maybe she's come out and said that, and I don't know that. But it almost kind of looks like, because James Charles, when he has had issues with people in the past, they will unfollow him, but he doesn't unfollow them. I don't think in a situation like this, if Kayla unfollowed James, I don't think he immediately unfollow her, because he wants the narrative to look like, well, I know that she's upset with me, but I apologize, and hopefully she'll come around and she'll understand the situation. I don't think it would be a good look for James Charles, like, if she unfollowed him, to be like, well, I'm going to unfollow you too. I don't think that would be a good look for him. So I'm almost kind of wondering if she hasn't blocked him. Which, you know what? Good for you. Good for you. I mean, I think that's what you should do in this situation. And I think anybody that wants to criticize her for why she didn't do it sooner, I mean, the girl literally is living this trauma out loud and publicly, you know, and she's just now finding her voice to talk about this. And probably, and this is the other thing I want to say about this whole situation, okay, that what she is saying today, the story may be a little different 6 months or a year from now, okay, because how you remember things or how you process things in traumatic situations is not always exactly the same for how you remember them down the road. So I hope that we don't, again, victim shame her when she says something different a year ago compared to how she feels now. Plus, her opinion can change. Her mind can change. Her reaction to situations can change. You know, depending on if she's in therapy or how she works through situations, that can all affect her. I hope that we do not make KAYLA MALEC an example of how we just take apart and dissect victims online. But needless to say, she has unfollowed him. She has come out and spoken against James Charles now several different times. I don't know how he came out in this reaction video on his Instagram, or he posted this post saying, like, I'm glad that she understands, like, what I had to say, because that's not what she's saying at all. And the fact that he hasn't lost more people to this is just amazing. But he's apparently posting a video today for his birthday, so it'll be interesting to see if he says anything tongue-in-cheek in the video on YouTube about his birthday and past birthdays and stuff, when Andrew did it at my birthday dinner was such a huge issue, and the cake has been such a huge issue. That's not a reach. I want to say this. When people want to say, oh, well, that's a reach, those are people that don't really know the story or the history of James Charles. The birthday cake is not a reach. The birthday cake has been such a huge deal for so long. It's been a huge deal since the Toddy Westbrook video came out. So anyway, let me know what you think about all that in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.